Hello, and welcome to my new webinar series geared towards the questions that partners are asking and where Microsoft can help. In my first episode, we're going to be discussing digital transformation, and I'm delighted to be joined by James Marshall, a partner technology strategist in One Commercial Partner. James, would you like to give a brief introduction?
Hi everyone. As Dan says, my name is James Marshall and I think I have the best job in the business. As a technology strategist, I get to work with some of the most innovative and exciting Microsoft partners on how they can solve customer problems using our technology. I get to hear the real world stories of their success and how they're changing the outcomes for businesses from the smallest startups all the way to the largest corporates. It's a pretty rewarding role. You can stay connected with me on social media. I'm James B. Marshall on most networks, and I'd love to hear from you.
Now, when I think about digital disruption, I'm reminded of my childhood and being obsessed with music. You see, we had this amazing record cabinet that sat pride of place in our dining room, and I would work my paper round so that I could rush down to the store at the weekend and get the latest single. And although I knew no different at the time, this analog process was both painfully slow and cumbersome. I had to make my way into town, wait in line at the store, hope that my record was in stock, and then make my way back home to enjoy. But if we jump forward to the present day, the process is completely different. Today, I need to do nothing more than ask my smart speaker to stream my favourite artist. What's more, the music is effortlessly transferred to my car, phone, or numerous other devices on demand and arguably at a fraction of the price. It's the same with television, movies, and even my son's unhealthy appetite for gaming. The point I'm trying to make is that as a consumer, the power of digital transformation has made the retrieval and consumption of entertainment easier than ever. I'm no longer restricted by opening times and location, but empowered by on demand technologies that provide me with the service I want when I want it and charge me only for the things that I consume. And while I'm sure the majority of our listeners are sold on the why of digital transformation, many struggle with the how. So I guess my first question to you, James, is how do companies digitally transform for continued success while running current operations?
You know, the transformation of the music industry through the rapid uptake of digital technology is pretty amazing. It's just one example of an industry going through huge upheaval as we find ourselves in the middle of a fourth industrial revolution. If I had the perfect answer for how a company transforms, I'd be a very rich man. But for me, digital transformation is more than just adopting new technology or migrating existing workloads to the cloud. That's just an upgrade. Digital transformation needs to involve a degree of rethinking the way you do things and improving upon them, either by optimizing the way they're done today or by totally restructuring the model to embrace a totally new way of doing them. Microsoft's approach to digital transformation looks at four key pillars: how we can better engage our customers, how we can empower our employees to achieve more, how we can optimize our operations to function more efficiently and more effectively, and how we can transform products and services and the way they're designed, manufactured, and taken to market. The key to success isn't trying to do something that ticks boxes for all four pillars at once, but it's by being intentional in making changes that result in positive business outcomes. The pillars are just there really as a guide. For example, if we think about empowering employees to achieve more, there are lots of things you can do. It might be that you have a large field-based workforce who could save hours of time a week by having a version of a key line of business application that's accessible securely on any device, rather than only via a corporate laptop. Or, thinking about optimizing operations, it might be that there are several processes that today require a degree of manual intervention that, if they could be automated, would enable a business to redeploy people to focus on higher value activities. That could be everything from patching servers in the IT department to approving holiday requests in HR. Or lastly, thinking about transforming products, it might be that you have a manufacturing plant churning out thousands of products each day, with a margin of error to account for inefficiencies in the production line. As a partner, you might help the company implement a solution, most likely in the IoT space, which could provide insights into the production cycle, which would allow that margin of error to be reduced. The aggregation of the reduction of the margin of error per unit would result in huge savings for the company as they reduce waste and increase profitability by tightening up their processes based on the actionable insights and intelligence you gave them through the IoT project. Digital transformation will look different for every customer and in every industry vertical, But Microsoft partners, I think, have a huge opportunity in front of them to help customers take their first step on the journey. For me, the words digital transformation are just a mindset. They're a catalyst for a strong, long-lasting, highly impactful relationship with customers. The value a partner adds through solutions it builds, the IP it develops, or the services it provides are how we make it happen.
So you talked about the four pillars of digital transformation, and I just want to dive a little deeper into how companies empower their employees. Now, in my next webinar, I will be discussing the modern workplace. But with digitization and automation currently outpacing ability, how do we introduce digital literacy and encourage employee engagement with new technologies? I mean, we can talk about this till we are blue in the face, but the fact is, organizations can't digitally transform unless its employees do. What are your thoughts, James?
One of the hardest parts of any change is bringing people along with you. We live in a world where there are more generations in the workforce together than at any time since the end of the Second World War. We find ourselves in a situation where there can be huge divides in the way people like to get things done. Teams now consist of everyone from the person who prefers to type a long, chunky, verbose email to make their point, through to the person who likes to approve a purchase order with a thumbs up emoji. Microsoft is very mindful of this and provides a few different ways for people to learn how to use our technologies. For example, if you're a knowledge worker, so someone who uses IT but sort of isn't responsible for it, then a Microsoft Office Specialist certification might benefit you by teaching you how to use our Office packages. The Word 2016 exam, for example, covers the skills needed to do everything from creating and managing documents through to sort of more advanced tasks like creating tables and lists and working with graphics in documents. Of course, if you're a developer, you might find the Cloud App Development courses on Microsoft Learning useful, such as the Azure Machine Learning Jumpstart. And if you're an IT pro looking to get your certifications on Azure, you might find the courses on Microsoft's Open edX platform most helpful as you prepare for your MCP exams. Of course, these exams and online courses alone don't guarantee success. Microsoft partners, in conjunction with Microsoft's learning and training partners, can build their own services to run training for organizations and to develop effective change management programs to ensure that customers get the absolute best from their Microsoft investments. There are several Microsoft Learning partners in the UK who deliver flexible solutions-based customized training in Microsoft technologies. For example, QA, Arrow, Combined Knowledge, Firebrand, NordCloud, Visual and Tech Data, just to name a few.
Okay, so a lot has changed in recent times around how we engage with our customers. I mean, if I go back to my childhood once more, the companies of the time could only really push information towards me in the modality of television, radio, or print. But with the rise of mobile and social technologies, customers have become more powerful with always connected experiences and the ability to find information in seconds. Today, when 5 out of 6 millennials connect with your company through social media, getting ahead of what's being said becomes center stage. So, my second question to you, James, is how can companies use our services to understand their customers better?
Okay, so I'm in the Azure portal, and you can see that I've actually skipped ahead a few steps to just jump into my Logic app, which is the thing that we're going to use to look at some tweets from Twitter. We're going to do some analysis on those tweets, and then we're going to connect them out to Power BI, which I'll jump to in a few moments. But I wanted to spend a little while in the portal showing you how I built out the Logic app first, and then we'll look at how that connects into the visualizations in a little bit. So I'm a massive Star Trek fan. I thought it'd be great to do a little analysis of what the world is saying about Star Trek. So the first thing I did was pull in the Twitter connection, and I'm searching for text around the hashtag Star Trek. And I've just set the frequency to 3 minutes. Now you can adjust this to be every couple of seconds or every few hours, depending on kind of what you're looking to monitor and how frequently. And there are different plans to determine the pricing. So there's a free tier and then there are paid tiers beyond that. But for this demo, I'm just doing a 3-minute pull of any tweet that's posted publicly about hashtag Star Trek. And you can put all sorts of different bits and pieces in here. And from that, any tweet that it pulls, it's then going to run through some various different API calls to look at some of the sentiment, key phrases, and language. So really simply using the Logic App Designer, I can drag in other elements underneath, and I can create breakouts like if, this, or conditional statements. This is a really simple one. It's just going to run through each of these in turn. So with my tweets, I'm then going to detect some sentiment. I'm going to tell it to look at the tweet text itself to do that analysis, and it's going to return a score, anything from 0.0 all the way up to 1.0. So 0 being really negative and 1 being really positive, and then obviously graduations in between. So I'm going to get my sentiment score to see what people, like how happy they are about what they're saying. Then I'm going to pull out some key phrases. Again, I'm going to look at the tweet text to understand what the key topics people are talking about are, and I'm going to turn that into a nice word cloud so I can kind of get a picture of what's going on. And then just because I'm interested to know where people are coming from and what they're talking about, I'm going to look at the language as well. I'm going to do some analysis on the tweet to understand what language people are tweeting in. And I'm probably going to expect to see not just English, but a variety of languages from around the world. And if I look at tweets over time, I might be interested to see the different languages dial up and down as they kind of go around the day. So once I've pulled all of those bits of information out, really simply, I'm going to connect all of those into Power BI, into what we call a streaming data set. Now, I could send these as emails to my inbox. I could connect them to a database. I could save them to a file, but I want to see them. I want to see them updated straight away into a dashboard that I can start to probe around in. So I'm going to use this Power BI connection to create this streaming data set, like I say. So all I do is add that into my Logic App Designer, and then I pick which elements I want for each of the data set components that I've defined. So prior to the demo, I set up my streaming data set in Power BI, and I said I was going to get the body of the tweet, who sent it, when, and those kinds of things. And it's just a case of then taking each element from my designer, plugging it into this little form, saving it all together, and then hitting run. And it will then just run at the cadence I determined at the start. So in this case, every 3 minutes, it's just going to run and run and run until I stop it. And anything it finds, it will then run through the different things that I've laid out and pass them over into Power BI. And I've had this running for a little while now, so I'm just going to hit run on this and go back to my actual, back to the blade here. I can see, since I set this demo up a few days ago, it's been running and running and running and running. So there have been loads and loads of successes. And one of the really neat things about this is that I can jump into any one of these and I can see what actually happened. So if I ever need to go back and troubleshoot something or understand how it came to a decision about a certain output or whatever it might be, I can actually click on any of these and it will take me to the actual instance that it ran through. So I can see a tweet was posted, and I can click on this and I can see what the body was that it found about the tweet and the breakdown and all the information. I can go and see the sentiment output. So as I go down here, I can see that this came out with a sentiment score of 0.5, and I can drill through all of these right the way through to understand, well, if a part of this puzzle failed, why did it fail? What was the data it saw at the time? That kind of thing. So it's quite useful from a diagnostic perspective. Of course, when I hit run and it goes off and starts to do its thing, I sort of leave it to, I don't have to come back to this at all unless I need to make a change. I'm then going to jump over to the Power BI portal where I can actually see some of the outputs from what I've created. So here's one I made earlier in sort of Blue Peter style. This is a report that I've created using the data in the data set that I've just taken you through. So that Logic app that's running in the background right now, it's feeding data into a streaming data set, and from that data set I'm creating this report, and from this report I can create dashboards and all sorts of other bits of information. So just to walk you through what I've got here on screen, if we start in the top left hand corner, we've got the last 24 hours tweets shown by time, just to understand how many tweets there are coming through. So every few minutes there are tweets fairly consistently, as you'd expect with a brand like Star Trek. People are kind of talking about it quite often. As we go through, I've filtered on the last 24 hours, but I can cut this to be the last hour or the last month as I see fit. As we move down underneath that, I then got the sentiment by time. So the same 24-hour window of the tweets that have been sent, actually, how many of those are positive versus negative, and where we see in between. And actually, happily, as a Star Trek fan, most of the tweets that are coming through are above that halfway line. So they're in the positive side of what we see through the analysis. And in fact, if you look towards the middle at the bottom, you've got that 7-day average sentiment gauge. You can see that the last 7 days of tweets that this has been running and collecting, the average sentiment's 0.63. So people are generally pretty positive about Star Trek. Perhaps it's because there's rumours that there's a female director. As you'll see in the word cloud, there's references to a new female director who's directing the next film. On the bottom left-hand side, we've actually just got a raw breakdown of the tweets that are coming through. So I can click in and see, as we'll see, I can filter the report and see what the actual tweets were that came through at the time. we've talked about the 7-day average sentiment gauge. That's quite insightful just to see the general health of what people are saying. Bottom right hand side, then we've got the breakdown of tweets by language. So the last 24 hours worth of tweets by the language that it's detected. So as you might expect, the majority of language on Twitter when you search for something like Star Trek, is going to be English, but there's a breakdown there. You've got some German and Spanish and Japanese and Russian. And then right up in the top right hand side, you've got the word cloud. So those key phrases I talked about that we're pulling out of the tweet using that analysis, they're feeding this word cloud. And what's really cool is not only can I look across this and see kind of what the general trends are that people are talking about, like unsurprisingly, Star Trek is there because that's the hashtag we're searching on, but I can actually click on any of these words and you'll see that it will filter the whole report automatically right down so I can see when something was tweeted, what the sentiment was, and then on the bottom left I've got this breakdown of which tweets mention that keyword, in this case discovery, and I can see then exactly what it was that fed into that report. So you can imagine if I'm monitoring somebody talking about my brand or maybe an event I'm running or a product I've launched or maybe even my competition, anything that's sort of publicly available on Twitter, I can use this kind of report to drill into quite a bit of detail to understand what people were talking about. So from there, I can go and build some pretty advanced dashboards, and I can share these across my organization really simply, or I can publish them to maybe my other stakeholders, customers, if I'm running a service for them. But it's just a really quick, simple demo of how I've taken some public data that's available, and I've picked Twitter in this example. I've done some basic analysis using some machine learning to understand how positive or negative people are feeling, and I've passed that into a tool like Power BI, so I can turn all that raw data, rather than have it on a big spreadsheet, into something that's really easily visually digestible that you could share with somebody who's maybe not so technically adept but just wants to understand the value, the context of the data that they're seeing.
I love our tools, especially how easy they are to connect and collaborate with each other. We've heard Satya talk time and time again about the importance of data and AI. And I think as a company, Microsoft have worked incredibly hard to provide our customers with easily obtainable solutions. In fact, I did a piece a while back with our data scientist guru, Phil Harvey, and he demonstrated how he was using Azure Data Lake and artificial intelligence to ingest the complete works of Shakespeare before visualizing the sentiment of the plays. Now, I don't want to take anything away from the remarkable work Phil has done, but what blew me away was just how effortlessly the tools integrated together to help him build out the solution. Do you have any other examples of artificial intelligence that you can show us, James?
So this is the video indexer service that Microsoft has released recently. And in advance of this demo, I've actually uploaded some content, some footage from the Imagine Cup World Championship from last year. What the video indexer service has allowed me to do is basically analyze this video. It's pulling together all sorts of different machine learning and AI services that Microsoft has into one place. So it's taken that video, it's uploaded it, it's analyzed it, and then it's giving me insights into the video that otherwise I would have had to have spent hours kind of manually cross-checking and noting and taking information from. But it's done this all automatically and put it into a portal that I can then get huge intelligence and insights from. So I'm going to walk you through kind of what it's put together for me. Of course, I have the video front and center there, and I can just watch that back normally, and I've made it private so it's just for me to see, but I could share this if I wanted to, make it full screen and just enjoy it. But over on the right hand side, that's kind of where the real insights start to come alive. So if I start from the top and work down, I've got the people section. You can see all the faces of the different people that the algorithms have picked up that are in the video. So it's found about 150 people in the video, and I can click on any of those faces and jump to the point in the video where those people are. I'll show you what that looks like in just a second. But you can see first and foremost here, it's picked up Tom Felton, and it's picked up that this person is a public body, that they have a biography. We can do a Bing search on them. It's kind of automatically identified that person. But there are lots of other people that the tool doesn't know who they are. And as I'm building up my video collection and doing more and more of these, perhaps I want to be able to look and understand who these people are and where they are just privately to me. In fact, I'm going to do that right now. I know that there's a guy in here, the Azure CTO, one of Dan's favorite people and mine, a guy called Mark Rasinovich. Now, right now, while the algorithm has picked up that actually Mark appears a few different places in this video, it doesn't know who he is. But I'm going to go and give him a name. So rather than being unknown number 2, I'm going to go and click edit up here. And I'm going to just correct this. So I can now call this Mark Rasinovich. There we go. Done. So that's now in my collection, so that now knows that that face, that person, is Mark Krasinovich. So any other videos that I'm using or any other places in this video, I can identify him as being the person. And I'll jump out of edit mode just there. And if I want to, I can jump to any point in the video where he is. So I can just use this time index moving arrowy thing, and I can jump to that point in the video. So there's Mark talking there. And if I jump ahead, it'll move to the next point in the video where Mark's talking. So it's really easy. If I know that somebody is saying something important and I want to find all the instances where they're talking, I can just use this particular tool to jump to where they are in the video. If we move down, it's actually pulled out some keywords as well. So let me just pause that a second. So it's pulled out some keywords like Imagine Cup and Czech Republic, which is where it was held, natural disasters, which is what some of the projects were about. It's picked up these keywords, but further than that, it's also picked up a whole bunch of annotations as well. In fact, if I click Show All, you can see there's quite a number of them. And I can click on any of these, and it will jump to the point in the video where it detects those things. So for example, if I want to see where in the video there's a crowd of people, I can click on that and it will automatically jump me to a point in the video where there's a crowd of people. Similarly, if I want to see where there's a mouse in the video, I can click on that. It will take me to the next instance of where there's a mouse within the video. So I can really easily start to drill through the video in real time, click on these and jump to where there are one or multiple instances of these keywords and annotations. And likewise, as we go down, brands as well. So clearly it's picked out things like Microsoft, Raspberry Pi, Microsoft Azure, Google, Windows, Skype, and so on. And again, I can see where in the video these instances were uttered, and I can jump to those instances. And then quite cool, I get some speech sentiment as well, so I can see what people were talking about. Now, this particular footage was about the World Cup Championships, so understandably a lot of it was very positive. But when they were talking about natural disasters, which is what one of the team's project was about, there's some negative points because they were talking about, obviously the impact of a natural disaster, and it's picked that up as being negative. But I can jump to those points automatically if I need to, again, just by clicking on the video, and it will take me to that point in the timeline. Now, that's all well and good for jumping around the video and finding objects and people, but what happens if I want to understand what people are saying? I speak English, and for my shame, I only speak one language, so I can only speak English. But actually, there are loads of languages around the world that people speak every day that are not. And actually, maybe you want to provide transcripts of videos in people's different languages so that they can participate in the video too. And what the video indexer has done is taken all of the content that people are saying and automatically turn that into a transcript, which it will jump through. So if I just hit play, it will automatically scroll through as the speaker is speaking. On the transcript, it will start to move down through. Now, it's not 100% accurate. The odd word might be a little bit out, but it's learning as it goes, so you can follow through. Now, you can see here this transcript is in English, but if I pause this video, I can pick all sorts of different languages. So maybe I'm somebody that speaks Bulgarian. Now, I don't speak Bulgarian, but you might. I can change this into Bulgarian. Now, the video will continue in English, but as you can see, the transcript has been automatically converted to a different language. And so now as I hit play, it should pick up and start to move through the transcript as I go in a different language. And I can do this for all sorts of different languages. So I can pick, let's pick a different one out of the list. I'm going to go with Czech. They were in the Czech Republic, so let's pick Czech. And again, it goes away and gets that experience. As the video is playing, it will bring it back in that language so that I can understand what they're saying without having to do the translation myself. So it's quite a powerful way to be able to analyze videos and provide experiences in different languages.
So let me change focus once more. Optimizing operations is crucial to successful digital transformation, and IoT is instrumental in accelerating this change. If we think about field equipment, for example, in the past it would be serviced regularly, but repairs were reactive, meaning that they only ever occurred once a component had failed. But with the explosion of cloud-connected devices, these once siloed components can now be continually monitored by gathering data across a dispersed set of endpoints, drawing insight through advanced analytics, and then applying those learnings to introduce unprecedented levels of service. James, could you spend a few moments discussing our IoT services and how they are helping to anticipate and solve customer issues long before they become an issue?
IoT is such a broad field, and people use the term so readily, but can't always describe what it means. The rise of the Internet of Things means that suddenly we go from a world where we have a limited field of view, by which I mean that we often just have a small amount of data available to us at any time, to one where eventually practically every device, every component, every part of a process can be connected and can generate vast quantities of data. The Internet of Things is there to give us a wealth of data from which to extract actionable insights and intelligence that allow us to do more, be better at it, or to your point, to avert disaster by preempting the need for maintenance. Of course, simply having vast quantities of data isn't in itself particularly useful. After all, if you have a million sensors all sending out a status saying, "I'm okay," every second of every day, you just have a mountain of data telling you everything's okay. Being able to intelligently process and filter this output locally at the edge before sending it on to a cloud service where insights can be gained and actions taken is the sort of prevailing approach to take. Microsoft's offerings, such as IoT Hub, allow you to connect, monitor, and manage billions of IoT assets, and services like Azure IoT Central make this even easier by providing a SaaS-type approach to simplifying management and monitoring. Combine these with our data storage services, big data analytics services, and our industry-leading visualization and integration services, and you have a pretty powerful array of tools in the cloud that can help you design, deploy, and manage an IoT solution. Although the cloud side of the equation is important, and somewhere Microsoft excels, you can hardly begin researching IoT before you come up against some of the challenges around endpoint security and how the industry has been caught a little off guard when it comes to protecting devices from vulnerabilities. This month, Microsoft announced one way it is seeking to secure the billions of microcontroller-powered devices, Azure Sphere, a new type of secure microcontroller, Azure Sphere OS, a specific OS built on the Linux kernel combined with security innovations pioneered in Windows, and Azure Sphere Security Service, a cloud service that guards every Azure Sphere device. Security is foundational, and anyone looking to build an IoT practice should have a no-compromise approach when it comes to choosing the devices and services they use. I'm really excited to see what happens when Azure Sphere comes out of private preview. One of my favourite examples of an IoT solution is the SCR Dairy in Germany, who've used hardware sensors, cellular connectivity, and the Azure cloud to digitally track their cattle, monitor their health, and perhaps most importantly, reduce antibiotic use to generally provide better care for their cattle. The Internet of Cows, if you will. Or if you're looking for a great example of a mature organization going through transformation, then look no further than the 120-year-old RAC, who now use Azure IoT Hub to connect and monitor devices placed in member vehicles to improve the way they deliver roadside assistance, in some cases identifying a fault before the driver breaks down. It wasn't that long ago that organisations like the RAC sent out a physical key to its members to allow them to open a telephone box at the side of the road through which they could call for help. And now your car can call for help before you know it needs it.
James, that was brilliant. Thank you. Now, for my last question, where can we learn more? What tools are we providing, and who can customers talk to if need be?
Perhaps unsurprisingly, Microsoft has a variety of ways it can help. A great starting point is simply our Microsoft Partner Network. It's a common platform for all partners regardless of size or type, and it's full of useful resources and information. If you want to learn more about what events, training opportunities, and courses we have coming up, then the Microsoft Partner Training Portal and Partner University Portal are both excellent bookmarks to have in your browser. If you have a general query or can't find something you need, then the UK Partner Concierge is ready to help. Just drop them an email at ukpc@microsoft.com. And last but by no means least, there's the UK One Commercial Partner Organisation, who are always looking to engage with partners who are looking to build new solution practices, IP, or services built on Microsoft's technologies. Whether you need support from a business and commercial standpoint, technical enablement, or perhaps you need help understanding how to craft a compelling value proposition and a marketing campaign, the OCP team is on hand to help. Some of you may already have a contact who's engaged with you. Great. But for those who don't, your journey begins with the UK Partner Concierge team. Of course, if you're a bit more self-motivated and want to get started immediately, then look at the Cloud Practice Playbooks Microsoft has created. With 6 to choose from, covering everything from cloud app development to security and AI, these are packed full of useful information on how to get started building your business on Microsoft technology.
Okay, so let's wrap this up. James, thank you for taking the time to be with us today and explain where Microsoft are in terms of helping our partners and customers achieve their digital transformation goals. I hope that our listeners have enjoyed the session and would remind you all this is driven by you. This is a platform to discuss the questions you may have on the technologies and processes that you consume. So let me know what you want to hear by reaching out to me on social media, and I will source the experts to make it happen.